And Kevin Minnick from the Courier Post. Kevin, good to catch up with you.
Hey, Mike, how's it going?
Doing well. Certainly a busy night last night, a rain-filled night once again, and so many great games around South Jersey. But let's start with one of the big ones up a little closer to the West Jersey League country, and that's Camden Catholic. Tell us about this game last night, and for people that don't know, obviously you could assume based on the names, it's a big-time rivalry game.
Yeah, it was a very entertaining game, kind of sloppy, with a lot of penalties, a lot of I guess a lack of discipline as far as the play was concerned. So at times it got a little sloppy, but on the most part it was a very entertaining game, and you got two teams that they know each other very well. Kids know each other. They played on the same 7-on-7 teams in the summertime, and there's kids that live in Camden that play for Camden Catholic and so forth. But, Camden got out early, got a safety, got a touchdown, and then, slowly but surely Camden Catholic got itself back in the game and got itself only down by a point at halftime. And then, late in the fourth quarter, found a way to capitalize on a couple mistakes and, scores two quick touchdowns and pulls out a huge win at home. So that's a very big win for Camden Catholic. A lot of people have high expectations for Camden this year. Camden comes into the season with a whole handful of Division I players, and really the two main ones being Brad Hawkins and Ron Johnson going to Michigan. And everybody thinks that Camden's gonna, this is the year that they should be putting things together. And Camden Catholic comes out, and they've got a couple real nice players themselves, and they did a nice job down the stretch, staying in the game and overcoming a few obstacles and getting that W. So I think it's a win that will go a long way for Camden Catholic. I think Camden right now maybe has to kind of settle down and regroup a little bit.
Yeah, 21-16 the final last night as Camden Catholic knocks off Camden. And Kevin, Camden's a team that, for 2-3 years didn't really have a regular season loss, and now this is 2 so far this season for them. Is it a matter of maybe Camden underachieving, or is it other teams in South Jersey sort of getting better, building, maybe figuring the Panthers out a little bit more?
I think it's kind of maybe a little combination of both, but I think the bigger part of it is probably the other teams. I think the thing with Camden, maybe we all get stuck in it, and then we look at the fact that they have these kids that are going to go on to college, and Camden's always had athletes, but these other teams, there are other teams in South Jersey that are just as good, and they're really showing it, and they're putting things together where at times Camden is lacks the discipline to do so. I mean, they had penalties probably in upwards of over 100 yards last night, and you just can't do that and win football games. So I think while Camden does have a great deal of talent, I think the other teams in South Jersey, they're playing tough teams. Their schedule is not quote unquote as easy as it had been the last couple of years, and these other teams are playing hard. They're preparing for them just as hard as everybody else is. And I think I don't know if it's you could say it's catching up with Camden, but I just think these other teams, there are talented teams out there too that are finding ways to get it done.
Big showdown last night, West Jersey American Division, of course. Williamstown going on the road at Cherokee, and this is a Williamstown team that's looked really good for the first 4 weeks of the season, put up a lot of points. All of a sudden, they run into a buzzsaw last night, and it's a little bit younger Cherokee team. I mean, I think they started, 3 or 4 seniors maybe on both sides of the football, but the Chiefs win this one 20-0. I mean, how much of a statement win is this for Cherokee, for maybe some people that thought maybe the Chiefs take a step back this season, but it certainly doesn't look like it?
No, you're absolutely correct. I think, I thought Williamstown would come into that game, and I thought Williamstown would win it pretty handily. They've been playing extremely well. They've got some nice wins under their belt. And, when you talk to P.J. Meekin at Cherokee, he's always very even keel. And a lot of people kind of thought, well, like you said, maybe this isn't the Cherokee team that's as good as the last two that won the Group 5 championship. And, I've learned over the years there's certain teams and certain programs and coaches that you just, they can tell you that, oh, well, we're not as good as we were, or we need to do this or that, but you can never count them out. And Cherokee is certainly that, fits right in that mold. And, like I said, I'm surprised that Williamstown didn't win that game. But Cherokee is a tough team to beat, and they're a tough team at home. And maybe the weather had a little bit to do with it, with the game being delayed, and you never know how that's going to affect the team. But Cherokee showed that it is clearly a team that is still amongst the top teams in South Jersey until proven otherwise.
On the line right now with Kevin Minnick from the Courier Post, breaking down some South Jersey high school football from the West Jersey League and beyond. Really a lot of big games last night, Kevin, a lot of division games in the West Jersey. Of course, Timber Creek versus Kingsway, a big one. And Timber Creek sort of up and down season so far. As we all know, the schedule is really tough for the Chargers and so many of these teams, but they take care of business last night 14-0 over a Kingsway team that was certainly just starting to sort of find its balance this year. How big is that win for Timber Creek? Because, as I mentioned, a couple losses so far this season.
Yeah, they went into the game 2-2, and they were coming off of a loss to Washington Township, which nobody saw coming as well. And that's a game that they had. I really kind of think Timber Creek had to win that game last night. Kingsway comes in, 1-2, a team looking for, they had played real well the week before in the rain and slop against Winslow, and they're looking for a W, and they're also looking for a little bit of revenge because the last time they played at Timber Creek was last year's South Jersey Group 4 semifinals, and that came down to one controversial play at the end where a lot of people thought that Deron Maxwell did not step out of bounds and should have scored a touchdown for Kingsway to win that game. And as it turned out, the referee had ruled that he did step out, and Timber Creek goes on and wins that game by a field goal in overtime. So I think Kingsway had a little bit of a revenge factor there, and it was nothing at halftime. But Timber Creek's another team. They're much like a team like Camden. They have a lot of athletes, a lot of kids going to be going on to college, and the expectations for them this season were extremely high, and for them to go to 2-3 would have been dismal, I think, for them. And obviously last night they found a way to get it done. So Timber Creek is kind of, maybe this was a turn things around for them, so to speak, and they'll get things going. But Kingsway, they go to 1-3, and Kingsway, you may look at every team that's 1-3 in South Jersey, and then they're a very, very good football team that just happens to be playing a very tough schedule.
Speaking of 1-3, Clearview now 1-3 after losing to Hammonton last night. What about this Blue Devils team? I think a lot of us knew this was going to be a good team. I don't know if we knew it was going to be a great team, and certainly a lot of football to be played, but the Blue Devils have looked really good through the first 5 weeks of the season. 41-21 over Clearview last night. Hammonton making it look easy so far.
Yeah, under first-year coach Jim Rasso, there's going to be a little bit of a transition, with Pete Lancetta stepping down. But I think the biggest thing there is that coaching staff was there before, and Jim was there, had been there for a long time, and the kids were so familiar with him that, okay, well, we got a new coach, but we're pretty much doing everything the same as we had been before. And, I think, if there is a team that you look at and I don't know if it's a surprise so much, but they are playing very well, and they gave up 21 points last night. 14 of them came by the backups. So they're a team that's they're going to rise in the rankings again this week, and I think they've got another couple tough games on their schedule as well. But Zach Bernard's doing a real nice job running the football for them, and they're getting it done defensively. They put I was talking with Mike McGarry from the press just a couple days ago, and Hammonton, they put 11 football players on the field at all times, and even their smaller kids are physical, and they're kind of big, in a way. They may be small, height-wise and weight-wise, but they're strong kids and they're physical kids, and they get after it. And that's a Hammonton team that's strong across the line. They run the football extremely well, and they play extremely tough defense. So nothing really changed. I think people maybe thought that they would take a little bit of a step back, but that's truly not been the case so far.
Another score I wanted to mention, sort of a big game last night, Paul VI, 29-6 over Winslow Township, talking with Kevin Minnick from the Courier Post right now. So you mentioned the word rankings there a little bit. Give us your rankings right now, Kevin. I guess Delsea has to be number one, and I believe the Crusaders play later today against Pennsauken. But Delsea, a number of close games. They've won them all. But how do things sort of stack up after that? Because a lot of teams with 1-2 losses, good teams, some undefeated teams maybe haven't played the best schedule. So how do things rank right now for you?
Well, barring an upset today, I think Delsea will stay at number one for at least for me, and I think for a lot of people. They have played close games. They played close games against teams that are also highly considered, highly ranked teams at the time. And I think they've done a nice job in that. And two right now is St. Augustine. And the thing with St. Augustine is that, in all honesty, the win over St. Joe in the first week of the season was a great win for them. And but we're starting to see that maybe this St. Joe team is not what we kind of thought they were going to be, and then maybe they're not as good as teams in the past, and especially last year's team, and that's kind of that kind of reflects in where St. Augustine is at to a degree. I think St. Augustine is a very, very good football team. They're terrific throwing the football. They run the football with Kyle Dobbins, and they've got tremendous play in lines. Defensively, Jim Brady at linebacker has done a really nice job in leading them guys. I think the big thing with St. Augustine is we'll see what happens when they have a playoff game, and that'll really determine kind of exactly where they're at. And then, after that, it's kind of a mix. You throw in a team like a Cherokee now, and even a Lenape. Lenape's now 4-0, and Camden Catholic is now 5-0. So, and you can throw Hammonton even up higher into that mix. So, there's teams right there that after 1-2, 3 to maybe 7 or 8 right now could be really any kind of combination of some teams that are playing very well.
Is it fair to say, in terms of the Cape Atlantic League, I don't want to say down year, but with St. Joe possibly taking a step back a little bit, St. Augustine clearly the class of that league, the only undefeated team left, but is the Cal sort of maybe losing some ground to the West Jersey, even the Colonial Conference this season in terms of overall rankings?
I don't think the Colonial mixes into that too much. The Colonial really, it's basically a lot of smaller schools. West Deptford, Haddonfield are pretty much the two powerhouses of the Colonial and have been for a while. But in West Jersey, that's where that really comes into the picture. You got some bigger schools, and St. Augustine is a program that's coming along, and next year when they join the West Jersey Football League, they'll get a chance to play some of these teams, hopefully, and really see how they stack up against South Jersey. It's kind of hard to compare Cal teams with the rest because they'll never play each other, at least until next year, and you can say, well, we're better than them and they're better than us, and you really don't know because they're never going to play, and that hopefully will all be settled next year. And like you said, St. Augustine, I guess, is at this point has established itself as the team in the Cal, and they're doing some really nice things with Mark Reardon down there in his 4th season. So, we'll see what happens next year. I think next year will really tell a lot as to how Cal teams really fit into the grand scheme of South Jersey football. Very diplomatic in that response. I like it. Well, I don't want to be dishonest, and at the same time, like I said, the biggest thing is the fact that these teams will never play each other, and you cannot. It's very difficult to say, well, St. Augustine is better than Cherokee, or Cherokee was better than St. Joe. There's no clear-cut formula to figure out who's better than who unless they play each other. And the only thing that's close enough is PowerPoints. And if you look at the PowerPoints, especially heading into this week, Delsea was clearly the number one team in South Jersey. If you looked at PowerPoints, St. Augustine's PowerPoints put them somewhere in the neighborhood of 4, 5, 6 in South Jersey. So, it all depends on what your opinion is on how important PowerPoints play into it. If you seen the teams, and like I said, I've seen Cherokee play. I've seen St. Joe play. I've seen these teams play, but I haven't seen these teams play each other, and that's that would be the ultimate deciding factor. There would be no wiggle room for discussion. If St. Augustine were to play Delsea, then we would clearly find out who the best team in South Jersey is, at least at this point. But it's just not going to happen.
I always like getting your take on maybe some South Jersey title contenders, but we'll save that for later in the season as we're only through 5 weeks here. So instead, got about a minute or two to go here. Some teams we haven't talked about, maybe some teams still flying under the radar a little bit that could certainly be in the mix toward the latter end of the season. Give me, 1, 2, maybe 3 teams that we're not talking about that maybe we should be talking about.
Well, I think there's a team in Washington Township is a kind of a surprise team now. Right now, would I pick Washington Township to win Group 5? Probably not. But they're a team that had struggled maybe the last 2-3 years a little bit, and has put things together, and could go. If you look at their schedule and the way things are going, could probably be 5-3 at the cutoff to make the playoffs, and that would be a tremendous improvement for that team. And you look at some of the smaller schools, a team like Salem, who right now is undefeated. Now they played in the South Jersey Group 1 championship last year, but they lost some guys, and they have a new coach. Yet they're undefeated right now and playing pretty well. And there is probably right now as good as any Group 1 team there is in South Jersey. And then maybe another team that I think is maybe kind of taken. They're kind of maybe in the shadows, so to speak, a little bit right now, and that's just my opinion. It is Haddonfield. Here's a team that lost to West Deptford in the first game of the season, and they're a 2-time South Jersey Group 2 champions, but they're now they have a loss under their belt, and they're just kind of taking it week by week, and they're winning games. But they're a team that I don't know if a lot of people are paying a lot of attention to right now, simply because they lost that first game to West Deptford. So there's I think there's a team right there that you cannot count out until proven otherwise as well. So there's just 3 teams off the top of my head, and obviously I think when things shake out at the cutoff date in 3 weeks, but we're going to see there's going to be a couple teams in there that are going to turn some heads. Even a team like that we don't really see a whole lot of up in the northern part of the southern part of the state is Pemberton. They're undefeated right now. If they win today, they'll go to 5-0 for the first time since 1980. So, there's always going to be a team, I think, in each group that's going to be a team that you're going to say, wow, I didn't think they were that good, or I didn't think they'd do this or that, and are going to surprise some people. And, like you said, we're halfway through the season. Give it a couple more weeks. I think a few more things will shake itself out. But there'll be a team in there here or there that'll surprise some people.
He's Kevin Minnick from the Courier Post. Kevin, really appreciate the time. Always great catching up with you, breaking down South Jersey football beyond the Cape Atlantic League, and it's always great to get your take on that. Thank you.
I appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
All right, Kevin Minnick from the Courier Post.